Alex loved music more than anything in the world. Every day after school, he would walk up the narrow stairs to his family's small apartment on the second floor. The building was old, and the neighborhood was quiet, filled with small local shops and soft streetlights. Inside, the walls were pale, and the furniture was simple, but Alex did not mind. He had his guitar, and that was enough. The guitar was not new or expensive. Its brown wood was scratched in many places, and a small crack sat near the sound hole like a little scar. An old black strap held it over his shoulder. But when Alex held his guitar, he felt a sense of calm. His shoulders would relax, and the worries of the day would disappear. He would sit on the edge of his bed, his phone propped up against a pillow. He played simple songs he learned from free videos online. Sometimes the internet connection was slow, causing the video to stop and buffer. Alex never got frustrated. He would just wait patiently, rewind the video a little, and try to learn the chord again. In the next room, his mother, Mrs. Rivera, could hear the soft music while she cooked dinner in their small kitchen. The gentle sounds of the guitar filled their home. One evening, as she stirred a pot on the stove, she called out to him. "You play with so much feeling, Alex," she said, her voice warm and soft. "Even if the guitar is not an expensive one, your heart sounds rich when you play." Alex walked to the kitchen doorway and smiled, feeling a little shy. "Thank you, Mom," he said. "One day, I want to play on a real stage, with real lights and people who are actually listening to my music." Mrs. Rivera turned to look at him, her expression kind. She raised an eyebrow gently. "That's a wonderful dream," she said. "But why not start small? Is there a local event or a small place where you could play?" Her question planted a seed of an idea in Alex's mind. A big stage felt far away, but a small one felt possible. A week later, Alex came home from school with a paper clutched tightly in his hand. He rushed into the apartment, his dark brown eyes bright with excitement. "Mom, look," he said, holding out the flyer. "There's a talent night at the community center. It says anyone can perform. Maybe this is my chance, it's my small start." That night, Alex practiced with more focus than ever before. He sat on his bed, the simple brown guitar resting in his lap. He closed his eyes and imagined the small stage at the community center, the warm yellow lights shining down, and the quiet audience clapping for him. But as he was changing an old string, one of the tuning pegs suddenly slipped. The new string snapped with a sharp sound, cutting his finger. Startled, Alex dropped the guitar. It hit the floor with a dull thud. The little crack near the sound hole widened, splitting the wood further. Alex stared at the guitar, his heart sinking. His chest felt tight with disappointment. The instrument looked broken and fragile. Mrs. Rivera heard the noise and rushed into his room. "Alex, are you hurt?" she asked, her face full of concern as she saw him holding his bleeding finger. "It's fine," he answered quietly, his voice barely a whisper. He wasn't thinking about the small cut. It's just the guitar. Later that evening, long after his mother had gone to bed, the house was silent. Alex sat on the floor, the broken instrument resting in his lap. The guitar that held all of his dreams now looked like a broken promise, silent and damaged. The next day, after his classes finished, Alex did not go straight home. He walked down the familiar street, carrying the old guitar carefully in his hands. He passed the bakery and the small bookshop. He stopped in front of a little music shop just near the bus stop. The windows were full of shiny instruments. Alex took a deep breath and pushed the door open. A small bell rang softly above his head, a gentle sound that filled the quiet room. The shop had a special smell. It smelled like old wood, new guitar strings, and promise. A man was standing behind the counter. He was older, maybe 50 years old. He had short, graying hair and kind eyes behind his glasses. This was Mr. Cole, the shop owner. Alex walked to the counter and placed the guitar on it gently. "Hello," Alex said, his voice quiet. "I found this. I was hoping... ... Can it be fixed?" Mr. Cole smiled a little. He picked up the guitar and turned it slowly in his hands. His fingers were careful and knowing. He looked at the strings, the neck, and then he stopped. He touched the long crack near the sound hole. He nodded to himself, thinking. "Yes," Mr. Cole said finally, looking up at Alex. "I can fix it. The wood is good. The sound can be beautiful again." Alex's heart jumped with hope. "But then," Mr. Cole continued, "but this work takes time, and it will cost some money." He named a price. It was not a huge amount of money, but for Alex, it was a lot. Alex's feeling of hope sank like a stone. He immediately thought of his mother. He saw her face in his mind, tired after a long day. He thought about her working late, carrying heavy bags of groceries, and always worrying about paying the bills. He could not ask her for this. "Thank you," Alex said, his voice now very soft. I need to think about it." He picked up the guitar and walked out of the shop. The little bell rang again, but this time it sounded sad. Outside, the sun was starting to go down. The street was getting quiet. On his way home, Alex passed a small café. Warm light glowed from its windows. In the window, a simple, handwritten sign was taped to the glass. It said, "Help wanted, evening cleaner." Alex stopped walking. He stood on the sidewalk, looking at the sign. From inside, he could hear the soft sounds of coffee cups clinking and quiet music playing. He looked down at his own hands. Then he looked back at the sign. He took a small step, and then another. He went in. The manager was a woman named Mrs. Rivera. She looked tired, but her eyes were gentle, just like his mother's. She asked Alex a few simple questions. "Can you work in the evenings, after school?" she asked. "The job is mostly cleaning, wiping the tables, sweeping the floors." Alex held the broken guitar tightly. He thought about the music he wanted to make. He thought about the money Mr. Cole needed. "Yes," Alex answered, his voice clear and sure. "I can do that." Mrs. Rivera nodded slowly. "It's not big money," she said, "honest work. But it's honest work. If you want the job, it's yours." That evening was the beginning of a new routine for Alex. While other teenagers went home to do their homework, rest, or play video games, Alex went to the cafe. He put on an apron and began to work. He wiped down every sticky table. He washed piles of cups and plates until they were clean and shining. He swept the floor, collecting the dust and crumbs of the day. When he was working, his fingers smelled like coffee and soap, not like guitar strings and wood. It was hard, and his body was not used to it. When he finally walked home and sat on the edge of his bed that night, his back was sore, his feet hurt. Across the room, in the corner, the broken guitar stood like a quiet shadow. It was waiting for him. Alex looked at it for a long time. The house was silent. He leaned forward and whispered into the dark room, as if he were making a promise to his friend. "I'll fix you," he said. "Just wait for me." He did not know how many evenings he would need to spend cleaning the cafe. He did not know how long it would take. But he knew one thing for sure. If he wanted his music to live, he had to work for it. Every clean table and every swept floor was a step closer to his dream. A week passed. Alex's days were long. He went to school, then he went to the cafe to work in the evenings. Cleaning tables and mopping floors was tiring work, but he did it carefully. He needed the money. While he worked, he often hummed quiet tunes. The melodies were like small secrets he kept for himself. They made the long hours feel a little shorter. One evening, the cafe was very quiet. It was late, and only one customer was left. He was a man of about 50, with short, graying hair and glasses. He sat at a small table in the corner, writing notes on a piece of paper. He had a small, dark music case at his feet. Alex moved through the quiet room, wiping down the tables. As he cleaned the table near the man, the customer looked up. "You're always humming," the man said. His voice was gentle, and he had a small, friendly smile. Alex was surprised. He stopped wiping the table. "A little," he answered. He felt a bit shy. "My guitar is broken." The man nodded slowly. He looked down at his own music case, then back at Alex. "I'm Mr. Cole," he said. "I teach music at the community center just down the street. Sometimes I fix instruments too. If you want, bring your guitar tomorrow. Let me see it." Hope felt like a small, warm light inside Alex's chest. The next day, after school, he carefully wrapped his broken guitar in an old blanket and carried it to the community center. The music classroom was simple and clean. There was a whiteboard on one wall, a small shelf with music, books, and 2 chairs in the middle of the room. It was quiet and peaceful. Mr. Cole was waiting for him. Alex placed the guitar on a table. Mr. Cole looked at the crack in the wood for a long time. He touched the splintered edge very gently. Alex held his breath. "It's not perfect," Mr. Cole said finally, looking at Alex. "But it still has a voice. It can still make music. It's like some people who have been through hard things. They are not broken forever." He took out some small tools. He carefully cleaned the wood around the crack. He applied a special glue, pressing the pieces together with firm, steady hands. He tightened the strings, one by one. When he was finished, the line where the crack had been was still there. You could see it, but it was thin and neat. The guitar was whole again. "Try it," Mr. Cole said, passing the guitar back to Alex. Alex's hands were a little shaky as he took it. He sat down and held the guitar the way he used to. He took a deep breath and played a chord. The sound was not big or loud, but it was clear and warm. It filled the small room. A wave of relief washed over Alex. His shoulders, which had been tight for so long, finally relaxed. His voice was soft, full of feeling. Mr. Cole smiled again. "If you have time after your cafe work," he offered, "you can come here. I'll teach you how to play not only for yourself, but for other people too." And so, a new routine began for Alex. School during the day, work at the cafe in the evening. And after that, a quiet hour in the music room with Mr. Cole. In that simple classroom, under the gentle yellow light, Alex learned so much. He learned how to make his fingers move with more control. He learned how to keep a steady rhythm. He learned how to make his quiet, repaired guitar speak more clearly, to share the music that was inside him. Sometimes, when he came home late and practiced in his room, his mother, Mrs. Rivera, would stand in the doorway and listen. She didn't say much, but one night, she smiled. "You sound different now," she said quietly. "You still sound like my son, but stronger somehow." Alex looked at his hands on the guitar. And for the first time in a long time, he felt stronger too. One afternoon, Mr. Cole came to Alex in the community music classroom. He did not say anything. He just placed a new piece of paper on the table in front of Alex. Alex picked it up and read the words slowly. "Community Open Mic Night," he said quietly. Then he looked at Mr. Cole. anyone can perform. Mr. Cole smiled gently. Anyone. That includes you, Alex. Alex's stomach felt tight, like a knot. He put the paper down. I can't, he said, his voice soft. I'm not ready for that. He looked at his old guitar. My guitar is old. My voice is not strong. What if I make mistakes? What if everyone laughs? Mr. Cole's eyes were calm and kind. He looked at Alex and then at the guitar with the repaired crack. Then they will see a real person, he said. For many months, you have been playing for a small phone screen. That is good. But now, maybe you can play for real hearts, for people who are in the same room with you. On the night of the event, the small hall at the community center slowly filled with people. It was just a simple room with a low wooden stage. There were rows of simple chairs, and soon they were all taken. Parents, friends, and neighbors came to watch. They talked quietly. Children whispered to each other, and their feet swung under the benches. Backstage, Alex felt cold. His hands shook so much that he could hardly hold the worn black strap of his guitar. He wanted to run. Mr. Cole stood beside him, watching him. You can still stop, Mr. Cole said quietly. No one will be angry. But I think one day in the future, you will ask yourself, what would have happened if I had tried? Just then, Mrs. Rivera appeared near the door. She looked at her son, and her eyes were steady and full of love. She did not look nervous at all. She looked proud. You don't need to be a big star tonight, she said in her warm voice. Just be, Alex. That is enough. A moment later, a voice from the stage called his name. Next up, we have Alex. The warm yellow light felt too bright on his face. Alex walked slowly onto the low stage. He saw the microphone on its stand. It looked very tall. He stood in front of it, and for a long moment, he could not breathe. His throat felt closed. He could not make a sound. Then he looked out at the small audience. He saw his mother in the second row. Her hands were folded in her lap, and her eyes were full of trust. She believed in him. At the side of the stage, Mr. Cole stood in the shadows. He gave Alex a small, encouraging nod. It meant, you can do this. Alex took a slow, deep breath. He held his guitar, the one he fixed himself. And then he began to play. The first chord buzzed a little, not perfect. His voice shook on the first line of his song. But as the music continued, his fingers started to feel more confident. They remembered all the nights in his small room playing alone. They remembered the long cleaning shifts at the café when he dreamed of this moment. He thought of the kind comment from a stranger online who wrote, "Your music helped me rest." By the middle of the song, something changed. The sound from his repaired guitar grew steadier and clearer. It carried his story with honesty. His voice became stronger. He wasn't just singing words, he was sharing a part of his heart. When the last note faded, there was a short, deep silence in the room. Then, warm applause started. It was not a loud, screaming sound like in a stadium. It was the sound of real hands clapping, full of respect and appreciation. Alex looked at the faces in the audience. They were smiling. But something inside him felt new and strong. He had been so afraid, but he had played anyway. That night, Alex learned he was stronger than his fear. After the open mic night, Alex's life did not suddenly change into a perfect movie. He still went to school every day. He still worked his job at the small café, pouring coffee and cleaning tables. And every evening, he still walked up the same narrow stairs to his family's small apartment. The world outside looked the same, but inside Alex, something was different. Something important had changed. He had stood on a small stage under warm lights, and he had shared a piece of his story with his music. He was scared, but he did it. The world did not break. It did not laugh. It listened. And that small moment of listening gave him a new kind of quiet strength. Mr. Cole saw this change in Alex. He decided to start a small music circle at the community center. Every week, a few people gathered in the music classroom. Alex went to every meeting. Sometimes he played his songs alone, his fingers moving over the strings of his old guitar. Other times, he played with other young students, learning from them and sharing what he knew. They didn't just share music. They shared short stories about their days, their worries, and their small, happy moments. It was a safe, warm space. At home, in his quiet room, Alex continued to record simple videos. He decided to post one new song every week. The walls of his room were still a little old and tired, but the sound that came from his guitar was now filled with a new, gentle confidence. He did not hope for thousands of views or to become famous. His goal was much smaller, much more personal. He often thought to himself, maybe just one person needs to hear this song tonight. Maybe it can help someone feel a little less alone. Slowly, carefully, the numbers began to grow. 10 views became 50. 50 views quietly grew into a few hundred. The growth was not fast, but it was steady. Then, one evening, something unexpected happened. A small online channel, one that shared music from new unknown artists, reposted one of Alex's videos. It was a simple song he wrote about watching the city lights from his window. Soon, comments started to appear under his video. They came from different people in different places, living different lives. One comment said, "Your song helped me study for my exam tonight. Thank you." Another person wrote, "I listened to this after a very bad day at work. It made me feel calm and peaceful. A third comment was simple but powerful. Please don't stop making music. Your songs feel so honest. One night, Alex was reading these comments on his phone. His mother, Mrs. Rivera, came and stood beside him, looking at the screen. She read the kind words from strangers. A soft smile appeared on her face. "Alex," she said quietly, her voice full of warmth. "These are not the big, bright lights you see on TV, but they are real lights. They are small lights that you are turning on inside people's hearts." The next year, the community center planned a bigger local event. It was a festival to celebrate the neighborhood. They invited Alex to be the opening act. The stage was still small, not much bigger than the one at the White were a little brighter. The room was full of people. He saw familiar faces from the neighborhood, from his school, and from the music circle. He also saw many new faces, people he had never met before. He walked to the center of the stage and stood in front of the microphone. He took a deep breath. "Hello, everyone. My name is Alex," he said, his voice clear and steady. "For a very long time, I thought a broken guitar and a small life meant I had no right to stand on any stage." He paused, looking at the crowd. "But I learned something important. I learned that second chances often begin quietly. They start in a small room with simple, honest work, and with the help of people who believe in you." He looked down at his guitar, at the thin, repaired line on its wooden body. "This crack," he said, holding the guitar up a little, "this crack is part of my story. It's a reminder. It reminds me that broken things can still carry beautiful music, and tired hearts can still shine a little light for others." Then he began to play. The sound that filled the room was not perfect. It was not polished like a song on the radio. It was honest. And sometimes an honest sound is where real brightness begins. The lesson of Alex's story is that our broken pieces and hard times do not have to be the end. With patience and small, steady steps, they can become the start of a second chance. A quiet beginning can lead to a bright and meaningful future. For more calm and motivational English stories like this one, please subscribe to our channel. Learn English with stories. Thank you for listening.